All right, so perhaps we'll get started. It's 5:04 right now. So first off, just thank you so much to everyone for joining us. We really do appreciate it. My name is Candice Menger. I am the manager of the MN Graduate Program here at Schulich of the office, the MN Graduate Office. And then on the line with us tonight, we have Dr. Papajou, professor and associate graduate. Oh my goodness, I apologize for misspeaking. Dr. Papajou, professor and associate head graduate studies here at the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering.
Hi, hello everyone.
As well as Dr. Moshepour, instructor and our Schulich Chair in Engineering Teaching.
Hi, everybody.
On the line, we also have Oscar Chen, which is an alumni from our very first cohort of our MN software program.
Hello.
And we also have Jamie Olmsted with us. She's one of our grad program advisors here in the MN office.
Hi, everyone.
Perfect. So before we get started, what we'll do is just a few housekeeping items so that everyone knows what they're in for this evening. So you'll notice that we have a Q&A function instead of a chat function tonight. So if you do have questions as we're moving through things, if you could just pump your question into that Q&A function, we'll be able to answer those at the end of the presentation. So we do have a short presentation prepared for you that will hopefully answer a lot of your questions, provide some information about the program and what that admissions piece looks like. But if a question pops in your head as we're going along, just put it in that Q&A. And at the end, either Dr. Papajou or Dr. Moshepour or Jamie or Oscar, whoever's most appropriate will answer that question for you. And so with that, perhaps what I'll do is pass it over to Dr. Moshepour right now. I'm going to try and give you control of the screen here.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think I have control of the screen. So good to see everybody here. It's good to share this exciting program with you. My name is Mohammed Moshepour. As Candice said, I am an instructor of software engineering here, also the teaching, software engineering teaching chair at the University of Calgary. I'm also the director of the MN in software engineering program. I've been working with my colleagues to design this exciting program, and we've been running it for a couple of years, and I'm excited to share this with you. So just give me one quick second. I think it's working. Oh, there we go. All right, so this program, we are very passionate about software engineering at the University of Calgary. We have an exciting undergraduate program, and we were able to build this MN program as part of that program, based on that program rather. So the idea is that with the software engineering masters, you're able to expand your skills, stand up in the job market, and prepare for a leadership role, and also be able to earn an engineering training status with APEGA, which is the Association of Professional Engineers in Alberta. The program that we have designed is a course-based degree, so you do not need to finish a thesis. You do, however, do a project at the end. It's going to be an industry project, so you do it in collaboration with an industry partner, and we help you to find an industry partner. You're going to be full-time. It's a consolidated program. It's 1 year. It's fast-paced and it's course-based, as I mentioned. And you will graduate, and graduates find work quite easily after this particular program, because it's very hands-on. My apologies for skipping a couple of slides of it. So a specialization in software engineering is 10 courses to complete the degree. In addition to those 10 courses, there is a boot camp semester for people who do not have a software engineering background, which I will talk about a little bit. And if you are familiar with grad studies, you need a supervisor for your grad studies. In this, because this is course-based and not research-based, you do not need a supervisor or a thesis, rather the courses. So two routes here. So for people who do have a software engineering degree or software background, they can join the program in the fall. So I'm talking about the points on the right. I'm going to go with people with a software engineering background, and then I'll talk about people without. So the people with a software engineering background, they join in the fall. They're going to take advanced courses, and they can earn their degree in 8 months. So the idea is that if you're already a software engineer, you can take this program to take advanced courses in machine learning, in AI, in cloud computing, and what have you, and earn your course-based master's degree. Your alternative is, of course, do an MSc and do an actual thesis and a research-based master's. But this particular MNG is more geared towards work in the industry. If you do not have a software engineering background, which is the bulk of our students, we have designed a 12-month path for you. And so you will go through a boot camp, and through that boot camp that starts in May, you get fundamental software development skills. We heavily leverage your engineering background and your engineering knowledge here. So we find that our students, because they are engineers already, we can teach them how to program and really leverage their engineering knowledge to fast track them through this program. So why take an MEng degree? It's a develop advanced knowledge that employers are looking for, build leadership skills in courses in courses such as project management and entrepreneurship, and of course work with industry partners to build innovative solutions. What industries will you get jobs at? It's very, very diverse. So we've had, if you're familiar with the software engineering firms in Calgary, we have graduates working in Payson, in Benevity, in many other companies here in town, even in smaller companies. We've had graduates go to other cities and work there. We've had graduates work for research organizations such as Oscar here, working with the Cummings School of Medicine. We have had graduates go to Silicon Valley and work for companies over there. In fact, I took a group of students to Google to Silicon Valley, and we visited Google last February, just before the pandemic, and it was a tour. And I heard about this program at Google. So a graduate of U Calgary who works over there told me that how his friends are really excited about this program and they're getting jobs right away. This unique program allows you to enhance your technical skills and combine them with your previous engineering knowledge, making you the ideal candidate for many emerging high-tech roles across all industries. So let's say you are a chemical engineer. Now you have the knowledge of a software engineer. So if you have that domain knowledge, you can also program and bring a lot of ideas to life. Some people do that, and some people just go and work as a software engineer or a data analyst, and they can have a career that way. So I would like to go through the courses a little bit. So for the bootcamp semester, which is really the heart and soul of this particular program, is we need to get you to be able to program. So being able to think in terms of code is fundamental to the success of this program. And fundamental is where we start. So we need you to understand object-oriented programming. We also need you to understand data structures and algorithms. That is at the very core and at the heart of being a software engineer. So we start there. If you are a U Calgary grad, this is a combination of such courses. Well, you know, if you're a software engineer here, or a computer minor or whatever, this is a combination of courses such as 337, 409, as well as computer science 333, which is data structures and algorithms. In addition to that, we have programming fundamentals for data engineers, which we teach you Python, so you can understand how to program in Python, how to do data analysis in Python, and sort of understand those tasks. And then we have 10 advanced courses for you to take. So we have, if you look at these courses, basically they're a combination of machine learning and AI courses, as well as software engineering courses. So we do have machine learning, we do have software performance, we have software design and architecture, we have a course on database. 609 and 610 here are the project course, which you're going to do with a collaboration with a company. And so often those companies end up hiring you. So for example, at the very first cohort that Oscar was a part of, we had 10 students working on projects with Payson. I think 6 of them were hired by them. If I'm not mistaken, Oscar, you're working at a position that you did your project with for this course?
Yes, that's right.
Exactly. So I mean, these projects are realistic projects. We get industry involved in these projects. I work tremendously close with our industry partners to make sure these projects are realistic, and the industry is providing you with a lot of help and support. So it's basically a mini internship almost. I actually advise students and as well as the companies to give you 20 hours of work per week. So this is something that, for example, before the pandemic, people would actually go to the physical offices and work there for a couple of days a week. And now we do things remotely, which is another day at the office for software engineers. Other courses, machine learning, again, and testing and what have you. I do encourage you to go and check out the calendar description for each of these, the very interesting courses. So by the end of the degree, you end up really having that knowledge of being a software engineer. I talk to people who hire our MN students, CTOs, the programming managers. Everybody is really happy with our graduates. They always talk to us about our graduates having more experience to code. So ever since the inception of this program, it has been evolving more and more towards a dev shop, where I get people to really just get in there and code rather than, you know, just conceptual stuff. So it's very hands-on. That's about the program, and I guess, you know, we'll answer questions, but I'm just going to go through with the rest of the slides. Why should you choose University of Calgary? So University of Calgary is a great university. We have 3,500 undergraduate students, 1,400 graduate students. We have strong ties to the industry and 170 faculty members. We work with industry quite a bit, and working with industry and having industry present in our classrooms is very key, as evidenced by our project course that I just talked about. So University of Calgary is University of Calgary is one of the top 200 universities in the world. It's a number 6 research university. It has 169 research chairs and 360 new invention and innovations since 2012. And I also wanted to let you know that you can ask questions throughout the presentation, and we will answer them at the end. So please continue asking these questions, and we're going to get to your questions at the end. So don't forget what you're going to ask. Just go ahead and ask it now. So University of Calgary is a big research university. Although you don't have research in, you're not directly doing research in your courses, you're going to be directed by a lot of faculty members who do research, and you benefit from their experience. You can also get involved in their research and contribute to it as well. We have some great alumni, world famous alumni. There's James Gosling, who is the inventor of Java programming language, which is the dominant programming language in the world. Garrett Camp, co-founder of Uber. Fun fact, Garrett Camp did his master's in 2016, and his co-supervisor was a professor here by the name of Dr. Farr, who was my PhD supervisor. So I kind of know Garrett that way. Not really, he doesn't know me, of course, but I went through the same supervisor as he did. There is Dr. Thirsk, who is a Canadian astronaut and was the university chancellor. He's also a University of Calgary graduate. So there's a lot of help and support here for you. International student specialists can help you with immigration questions. U Calgary Welcome Center helps you helps you prepare to move here, and International Student Services helps you to meet others. We are here to support you. Also, the MN students are a very closely knit group. This year, everything has been remote, but the students have come together. We have class representatives each year, and students help each other out quite a bit. We are a community of engineers, and the reality is that you're not, straight out of high school, you're all engineers, so you get together and you organize. So our students right now, they have meetings every week. They're very close. They help each other out quite a bit. They have their own Slack channel, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with or not, but it's basically a chat channel for software engineers that they communicate with, and they support each other quite a bit. It's I must say, teaching MN students is my favorite because everybody's so driven to learn and do better. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Candice to go on with the rest of their presentation. And again, just a reminder, please continue asking your questions and we'll start answering them at the end. Candice, back to you.
Perfect, thank you. Perfect, and I think I've got control of the slides again. Questions around admissions and our deadlines and how all of that works. So December 15th is the date that you need to remember. So that's kind of a hard deadline to get your application in. Make sure that it is in the complete status, because we can't review it unless it is complete. So whether you're looking to apply to that boot camp and continue on into the fall main program, or you are eligible to skip that boot camp and jump right into the fall, December 15th is the deadline. Do be aware, though, that we are sending out rolling offers of admission, and we will be doing that until all of the seats are full. So do apply early and make sure that your application is in the complete status. Oh, sorry, oh, there we go. My apologies. Okay, so in terms of what does that admission piece look like? So the first thing is that you do need a bachelor degree in engineering. I saw one of the questions in the chat was around if we could look at a non-engineering bachelor degree, but we do need that. The second piece is that we need a minimum GPA of 3.0. So that would be on a 4.0 system. And how that gets calculated is over the past 2 years of a full-time study of the undergraduate degree. If you studied abroad and were at an institution where the instruction wasn't in English, then there would be some ELP requirements that you would have to have a look at. So for TOEFL, we're looking for a score of at least 86, and for IELTS, a minimum score of 6.5. So that's important if you did study abroad. We don't require references for your application, so that is something different than in previous years. And we are able to review your application with unofficial transcripts. So what that means is to your actual application, your online application, you can upload just your unofficial documents, a scan. Do make sure that you include everything from all the post-secondary institutions that you may have attended. Even if it was just, a course or two, you graduate, you didn't do a full program, make sure you include those, because that's very helpful in looking at the full picture, and we need that to move your application forward for review. We won't require official transcripts until you get an offer of admission, Our offers are conditional on receiving those official transcripts, and there's information at that time about how to send them and what those look like. But in short, the issuing institution would send those to us directly, either in a sealed envelope or electronically. If you do happen to be an international student and you don't hold permanent residency or citizenship here in Canada, so this would mean that within that application, you're going to click off that you would be on a study permit for the program. So you're not able to apply for that study permit until you actually have that offer of admission in hand. And so that's really all you need to complete within the actual application, just indicating that you would be on a study permit. Once you get that offer of admission, we have our International Student Services team. Dr. Moshapur mentioned them. They are a great resource. They have resources, they have advisors that are able to help you, walk through that study permit process and all that you're going to need. So with that, perhaps what we'll do is move into this Q&A portion right now. We've had some great questions coming in through the chat. Continue to please put your questions in there and we'll work through them. So the first question, maybe I'll just read it out to our panelists here, and whoever would like to chime in, do so. So the first one, can I finish the whole program fully remotely? Oh, I'm going to unshare my screen. My apologies. Give me 1 second and then we can see all of our faces.
All right, I guess I can kind of touch on this one. So currently at this time, the winter term is a blend of in-person and online. So we cannot guarantee that you may be able to complete this fully remotely. As it stands, we're in some tough times, so it may be an option, but unfortunately at this time can't determine if for sure it will be offered all remotely.
The faculty team want to add to that as well?
Yes, we have not had any formal announcement from the university administration. So right now we cannot state definitely whether you can take it all remotely.
Thank you. Oh, and before we continue, I just want to introduce Dr. Krishnamurthy has joined us as well, an instructor with the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
So we're just going to run through the Q&A questions that have been pumped into that there. And yeah, feel free to jump in. We just finished the formal presentation portion. I'm sorry, I couldn't see what time when you joined us there, so I might be repeating myself. So the next question is, do you accept students who are below a 3.0 GPA? And so I did address that in the prior slide. It's a really competitive program, and so the minimum GPA is that 3.0. And even at that, admission isn't guaranteed. Are you going to send out the slides by email after this presentation? The slides will be posted to our website. We will be able to share those out, and we have everyone's contact information that's logged on, so we can provide additional details after this session on that. Course ENSF 611 was already offered as a ENPE 519 special topics course by Dr. Mehdi this semester. If I have already taken this course, will those credits count towards the credits I need for this master's?
Yeah, so maybe I can take that question. We'll have to make a case-by-case determination. So I think the process would be to kind of provide Dr. Moshirpour first with whatever was done in the course outline, and maybe samples of the coursework, and then we will make a determination that if the content covered in that course is sufficiently close to what's being covered in the MEng program, whether the credits can be transferred.
So there is Janine, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a form that we would get filled out that would support that review process. And then it would go through the proper approvals, and then there would be a determination whether or not the credit would be given. Fair?
Sure. It's an advanced credit request, and typically a course that's used for a previous degree could not be transferred to a future degree.
Are all tuition payments for the program made on a per core course basis? So perhaps I'll take that one then. So the tuition is based on that per core basis. There are some general fees and whatnot that apply across the board, but generally speaking for the MEng program, it's a per course. And like Dr. Moshapur mentioned, you have the boot camp, and then you have the core program, and that core program is the 10 courses. Does anybody else have anything to add there before I move along?
I think you covered it.
You covered it.
Okay. Two, the grad calendar provides the most accurate information on what the tuition and fees looks like. So the 2021-2022 calendar hasn't been approved and published quite yet, but the current year's version is online right now, and that provides the most current information on tuition and fees. Are we allowed to extend the degree by a semester so we can take more software engineering courses? Would one of our faculty team like to grab that one?
Yes, this is a cohort-based program. So we want all the students to start at the same time and finish at the same time. So we do not allow students to opt out or to extend the program by a semester.
Thank you. What is the length of this program?
The length is, if you have a software engineering background, the length is 8 months. If you do not have a software engineering background, the length is 1 year. 4 months to do the 3 bootcamp courses, and then 8 months for the real program itself.
So the next question is, are qualifying students in bootcamp only required to pay for the 3 courses and then pending if they qualify for the next phase of the program?
I can touch on that. So all courses that you're going to be taking for credit, essentially you will be paying for. So you will be getting credit for these courses even if you don't qualify for the next phase. However, in most cases you are successful and you do go on to the next phase. So yes, you will be required to pay for these courses.
Considering the ongoing pandemic, can you speak to the course delivery in class versus remote and how you are mitigating impacts if the ability to deliver in person was to change? One of our faculty team like to take that?
Sure, I can take that. This year we started delivering the content remotely, and it had some challenges, but it also had a lot of benefits. So for example, what I do is I deliver my lectures live, and I also record them. And I post the recordings right away to D2L. I also post all my code to D2L. So this is a significant advantage to when things were in person. So for example, listening to a lecture and then having it also posted so you can revert back to it, it's definitely an advantage. The fact that we used to have office hours, or we used to have lab sessions where TAs would help you out, we still have that. And we still have, so for example, a Zoom sessions that 20 students have access to it, and a TA is sitting there to answer questions. And we basically do all our activities remotely, and I don't think that has really caused any main issues. The second part of that is that how are you mitigating impacts if the ability to deliver in person was to change? What does that mean? So like,
I think if they didn't ever go back to in-person, it kind of sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, we continue the way we are. I think now everybody was a little bit worried to begin with. Software engineers, this is quite acceptable for us to work remotely. I mean, there are a lot of software engineers in the world that just are in a different city or whatever, and they work. And I think at the start of the pandemic, I brought some speakers for all of software engineering students here. Some speakers who, for example, they live in Vancouver and their workplace has been in Calgary for years, or people who live in Calgary and really their office is in Silicon Valley, and they just do it that way. So for the software engineers, we have been pretty good as far as we can do basically everything remotely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If one cannot get a study permit in time for boot camp, or if the permit is slightly delayed, can one still catch up with registrations and classes? Perhaps I'll grab that one. So if you cannot get a study permit in time for the start of boot camp, so one, there's nothing in place saying that you have to have that study permit in place or the approval to start online courses. However, it is strongly recommended that you do. You can talk with International Student Services about your specific situation so that they can best advise you and you can make the best decision for you. But as Dr. Papageau mentioned, it is a cohort program. We do need everybody to start at the same time, continue along together, and then finish up at the same time. So if that decision, that personal decision for you was that you weren't prepared to start in May with your cohort, then we would recommend deferring. You have the ability to defer up to 1 year. I hope that answers that question. Would anybody else like to add to that answer?
I think you covered it, Candice, yeah, for the most part.
All right. What is the expected time of offer letter arrival? So we are actively reviewing applications as they come in, as they move into that complete status. And so we are, working as quickly as we can, and it really hinges heavily on when students, their applicants send in those applications and if they are in the complete status. In the past, we have sent them out quite late. It's been into the winter. However, we do anticipate, filling those seats much earlier than that this year. Some offers have started going out. So again, if you are interested, apply early, make sure your application is in the complete status so that we can review it. Are the boot camps in class or online? So kind of, I think, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's no official word yet for next year, but these are all predominantly software programming, data analysis type courses, and I would imagine that if we were forced to go offline, the delivery would be predominantly offline. It would be like either recorded or synchronous video lectures with asynchronous labs with live TA support kind of thing.
So tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, but in previous years, like when you went through Oscar, I'm not sure if you did the boot camp or not, but that boot camp has traditionally been in person, but then with the pandemic, it was moved to be virtual online for the first time this spring. Is that a fair comment?
Mm-hmm.
That's right, yes.
That's correct, yeah.
And so, yeah, based on kind of the feedback from our faculty team, it seemed like that was a fairly smooth transition just based on the nature of software engineering.
Yeah, again, this pandemic has been an opportunity. I guess a lot of students really do like the online delivery. I mean, one student came to me and said, it's great that I can play your video at 2x speed because you talk so slowly, right? So, and other people may want to play it at a slower speed because they may feel that I talk too fast, right? And you can go back and forth, watch it, rewatch it. So it's really been a success story so far. And I think Dr. Mosherpour can also attest to that.
Absolutely, yes.
Oscar, how did you find it during your studies?
Sorry, in terms of what?
Like when you took parts of it online, how did you feel about it?
All of mine was in person, right?
Oh, this is in person.
I don't really have that to compare.
He was our first cohort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Are you working remotely now though, Oscar?
Yeah, I'm doing everything from home remotely.
And how do you, yeah, tell us about that experience.
I think, for the most part, everything in terms of software engineering is pretty ideal for working remotely and utilizing technology to the max. So there hasn't really been anything that impedes how I, write code or develop stuff. And so
yeah, so software engineers are way ahead of the curve. The technology to do remote work is in place from 1960s. So, so we are kind of lucky in that regard.
Absolutely.
So we'll move to the next one here. There are other MEng programs in software engineering and other universities like Waterloo, UBC, University of Toronto. What is better about this program?
So I can get this one. I mean, not to necessarily, I mean, those are all fine institutions that you have listed here. So what I could tell you is that what we aim to do in our program is that we aim to present a very hands-on and practical program. We first, this is our approach. Our approach is to first build a foundation, a strong theoretical and practical foundation for our students, and then try to stay tuned with the needs and wants of the industry and tune our more advanced courses to the needs of the industry. And deliver them in a very hands-on kind of way. So practicality is the secret here. So I would sort of say our secret sauce is paying a strong attention to fundamentals and then placing an emphasis on practicality and having strong ties with industry and having them engaged with our students. Now, perhaps this would be a good place that I could bring Oscar in so that he can kind of talk about his experience with the program and the project and everything else.
Sure, yeah. I was an engineer and I worked for several years before I decided to come back to school to study this. Mostly out of interest. I think, I knew a tiny bit about coding just from going to school and study mechanical engineering, because most engineering programs in Canada has, at least one course in, a little beginning coding kind of stuff. But what I learned in the first boot camp semester was taking that to an entire different level. It was very hands-on. It was very, very high load if you're not used to, writing code and stuff. That's the kind of the period of time where you get into the mentality and get really good practice and catching up with, other students that have a software engineering background, as well as, obviously the entire software engineering domain. There's a lot of things to be covered. So it was a very nice combination of both hands-on, get you to be able to build stuff, actually write programs, and as well as covering a lot of theories, how you think about constructing a program. I mean, there are people who, who obviously they're pretty smart people who can learn to write some codes on their own, but they're missing a part of the theories about how to build softwares, how to make code maintainable, all that kind of stuff that you don't really think about when you're just, sitting in a basement writing code by yourself. So this is kind of like a two-pronged approach. And I think it's kind of like a sweet spot, you don't spend too much time on theory or too much time on one thing. It's a bit of both and put together very well.
Thanks, you both.
One thing to add is that if you take it in Toronto or Waterloo, you are condemned to be in Toronto or Waterloo. Calgary is much better. Obviously, biased opinion, but.
Good addition. Jamie, maybe the next one we'll direct at you. So it's around the calculation of that GPA. So does a 3.0 GPA over the past 2 years include the last year if you are currently completing your bachelor's? Also, in that case, would we have a conditional acceptance?
Yeah, so I guess what we will be doing is whatever you submit at the time that you submit your application, that's what we will be reviewing. So we'll be checking your credentials that you have submitted over the last 2 years, and that's how we'll be determining your GPA. So if you're calculating what you're submitting and checking the last 60 units, and if it meets that minimum 3.0 GPA, then you're welcome to apply.
Thank you, Jamie. So what if your undergraduate degree was in a related field like computer science or information systems? Dr. Papaji, do you want to take that one?
Yes, we will look at that on a case-by-case basis. So if you have a bachelor in computer science or information systems, then we will take a look at your transcripts and see if you have sufficient courses that will meet the admission requirements. So we look at that on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. What has been the acceptance rate to this program over the last couple of years? How many students get accepted to the program? So I don't know, Dr. Papaji, if you want to touch on that one and how many seats are available?
Yes, we have roughly 60 seats. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, 60 to 80 seats. 80 seats, yeah, we have 80 seats available. So, and it's filled on a first come, first served basis based on people who meet the admissions requirements.
As Candace touched on, it is on a rolling offer basis. So try to get your complete applications to us as soon as possible.
And it is, yeah, it is competitive. And do pay attention to what those minimum admission requirements are and make sure that you are making sure that your application is in that complete status because we're not able to move it forward for review if it's not fully complete. I have been working for almost 20 years in the IT field as a software engineer. My undergrad degree was from overseas. Would I still need to get a transcript from my institution? Yes.
Yes, please, from all post-secondary institutions.
For the application, you just need a copy of that. An unofficial version of that transcript is fine. You upload that to your online application. And then should you get an offer of admission, that's when we would need the issuing institution to send that directly to us. How would you compare the abilities of someone coming out of this MEng program to someone completing a 4-year undergrad in computer/software engineering?
Absolutely. I can take this one. So really a good question. I would look at your question when you say abilities. And abilities, it's not the same thing as knowledge. So if you say knowledge, I would say very much the same, very comparable. Abilities come from skill. So software engineering is a practitioner's profession. So you're very hands-on as a software engineer, and the more you do, the better you get. So if you do this for a year versus somebody who has been coding for a couple of years, then you may have some catching up to do. But at the end of the day, the knowledge is very much on par. The other thing is, if you look at a software engineering degree or a computer science degree, it's not that they do the whole, like, it's not like that all 4 years is doing computing courses. If you look at engineering, it's typically about 2.5 years of courses are computing, and the rest is other professional development, math, chemistry, whatever. So then the length of the degrees aren't that different. Another thing is that students, when they get into a bachelor's degree, by the time they're straight from high school, whereas you guys are already engineers, you have some work experience perhaps, and you have that engineering knowledge, you're much more mature, so you're able to, MN students are often able to absorb information better and really leverage their engineering knowledge to begin with. I think as somebody who writes software and who writes code, of course, the more you code, the better you get.
So within the slides, it showed that there was no financial support. Are we able to still apply for Alberta student aid loans? So there aren't any scholarships or awards in that regard that are within the course-based engineering programs, but definitely there are opportunities externally for loans and whatnot. Would anybody else be able to speak on that more? That covers it. Okay. Would an electrical engineer, not a computer engineer, qualify for the fast track program?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Mohammed.
Sure. Most likely no. I think the boot camp semester, I mean, it's only 4 months, but it's so important to really getting that fundamental. So I mean, again, if you're an electrical engineer with a very solid understanding of object-oriented programming, with very solid understanding of algorithms and data structures, with a very solid understanding of data analytics using Python, then you should opt out of the, you can try to get credit for the boot camp. But I would highly discourage people dismissing the boot camp, because it's really a very, very central and important part of this whole program.
Can we submit applications if we are currently completing our final year of our engineering undergraduate? So Jamie touched on this a little bit before. Definitely 100% you can. You'll be reviewed based on what you've completed to date. Fair, Jamie? All right. Could you provide any, I thought I missed the question here. Could you provide any statistics on how many graduates typically find employment upon graduating?
So we did a survey. We did a survey the very first year, so the year that Oscar graduated, and he can comment on this a little bit as well. And out of the participants, I think we had 40 graduates, 95% response rate, and 100% had jobs. So from everybody who we heard, everybody had employment. The following year is this current year so people finished in August. So the second cohort finished in August. So they've been out for a couple of years. A few of them actually, without even finishing, they had job offers. And some of them had to actually take some time off because of the job offer and go to work. So we don't have the survey results for this year yet, but I think I'm confident that easily over 60 or 70% for our new cohort has employment already. But we should get those results hopefully in the new year. And I don't know if Oscar, you want to add to that. What was your experience in finding employment after this, and other people that you know of?
Sure. Everyone that I know, and I keep in touch with quite a few of the people that I went through the program with. Pretty much everyone that I know was able to find a job within a month after graduation. Most of them start applying after they actually graduate, and they all eventually find jobs very quickly. I was a little bit of a keener. I actually started applying while we were finishing the capstone project, and I had 3 job offers by the time I graduated. So it was I was in a pretty nice spot compared to my previous career in oil and gas. And some of my friends, one of people graduated from this program is working for AMD. Another one is working for I can't remember the name. I think it's Opener, one of the tech startups in Silicon Valley. So they're all pretty well cutting edge tech jobs that are from people graduate from this program.
Thanks, you both.
Thank you.
If an international student has less than 6.5 IELTS, can they apply for the UC ELP program and get conditional admission? So it is a competitive program, and so we do need the minimum FGS requirements to be met, being that the IELTS being 6.5. There are some different programs through the UC that could help bring that ELP score up and whatnot. And I'd encourage you to connect with meng@ucalgary.ca for more information about your specific situation. And we can help and engage the right to people to help in that regard. But for admission to this program, we do need that minimum FGS requirement to be met. I was having issues opening an application without a UC ID. I'm a U of A grad and don't have one. How do I go about applying? Jamie, do you want to talk about how to set up your ID and whatnot and apply?
Yeah, so when you are applying to the program, you won't need the UCID right away. What it's going to ask you is you're going to need to create an EID, which is different than a UCID. It's kind of like a U Calgary username. So you'll follow the steps first to create an EID. Once you've created the EID, that will activate your UCID, and that's when you will be given a UCID. But you don't need it to apply to the program. You'll need the EID to apply to the program. So it's just an IT kind of loophole that you start with.
Thank you. Are there any special hiring events helping the students? Oh, please, it disappeared on me. Are there any special hiring events helping the students to find employment upon completion of the program?
So we do have industry speakers that come and talk to our students. University itself has career events, and maybe if some Jamie can talk about that, right? Or I don't know who. But
sorry, he's just referring to career events, Candace.
Oh yeah, sure.
But then with regards to what we do specifically, so the project course that we have, we actively match students with companies to do projects in. When students do presentations, other companies are there to see those presentations and they sort of meet. We do company tours. So for example, we take students to Payson or have them to do maybe like a virtual tour for us or other companies, what have you. So there are lots of opportunities to meet industry, and of course, university in general does a great job of organizing events where employers come and have these career days where students go and meet them, and Candice can give more information about that, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. We have through our main Central Career Services team, they set up career fairs usually every September, and January are their two biggest ones. Historically, they are in person. This year, they have moved virtually, but still connecting students with employers, lots of networking events and whatnot. We also have the My Grad Skills program as well, and they do an awful lot of work to connect our grad students with employers. The workshops around professional skills and how to write your resume and really sell yourself in the best possible way. Yeah, you're doing all of this to get a great job at the end, and so there's lots of supports available to make sure that that's you're well supported in that goal. Oscar, would you add anything to that based on your experience?
No, I really don't have anything to add.
How are students selected for the program? What are the main selection criteria? So within the slides, we mentioned that a prior engineering degree, a Bachelor of Engineering degree. We look at your GPA and your ELP if it is applicable for your situation, and that's really what we're looking at. And that the application is in the complete status, so that you have provided all of the required information within there. Once all that required information is in there, then you can move forward for review. And like we mentioned, we are reviewing on an ongoing basis, and offers are going out on that rolling basis until seats are full. So do apply early. Do make sure that you complete that application in full. Don't start it and then leave it with the intention to come back, because that might put you out of the running. If we are already a student at U of Calgary, do we need to submit our transcript, or do you already have that? Jamie, do you want to take this one?
Sure, yeah. So if you are a U of C student, no, you won't need to provide the transcript. Actually, in your online application, the system will recognize that you were previously a U of C student when you check that question, and it'll automatically hyperlink your transcripts to your application, so you won't need to provide them.
So if you are a current MN student in any other department of U Calgary, are you eligible to apply? So you are eligible to apply, provided that you meet those minimum admission criteria. I'm not sure if somebody from our faculty team, Dr. Papajou, I saw you kind of lean forward, like you wanted to add to that. Please step in.
Yes, you are eligible to apply as long as you meet the minimum requirements. However, the credits that you have in the current MS program that you are enrolled in will not be credited to the new MS in software engineering if you are admitted.
That's a great point. Thank you. Can you do internships on this program?
The answer is yes, but it is not a requirement. If you decide to take an internship, this means you will delay the completion of your program. As I said before, internship is not a requirement.
So what does the competition look like for this program? What is the admission rate? So Dr. Papaji talked about that a little bit earlier. Historically, for the last two cohorts, we've had 80 seats available for that. So it's very competitive. Question for Oscar. What was your background before coming into this program? And can you speak to how well the bootcamp prepared you for the next 2 semesters, if you took it?
Sure. My undergraduate study was in mechanical engineering from University of Saskatchewan, actually, graduate 2013. So I think the bootcamp is probably my favorite part of the program. There was just a ton of learning. You definitely need to put a lot of effort into it. It is fairly fast-paced if you are not well-versed in the programming world or experienced with writing codes. But it's very well worth it. It prepares you very good if you put in the effort and time.
Thank you. Did you say reference letters were not a core requirement? That is correct. So that's a change this year versus prior years. For our MN programs, we no longer require reference letters. So you did hear us correctly. Does the GPA calculation include semesters when students were on internship and took the INTE 513 courses? So Jamie, those are 4-credit courses that the undergrad students
Sure. Yeah. So any courses that you are taking for credit will be counted in your GPA. So we would count these courses as part of the calculation over the last 2 years.
They are a pass or fail. Tell me if I'm remembering that course. I think it's just a pass or fail for those credits, Jamie.
Are they a pass or fail?
Oh, yeah, it's not a GPA.
So they are just a pass and fail mark. It won't be included in the marks just because we only take the credits that are actual grades.
How many hours per week do you think this program would take, including classwork and homework? Oscar's smiling. Do you want to weigh in on this one?
I think it varies because there's the stuff that Dr. Mushpour and the other professors, they teach directly during the class. You get to go home and practice and work on the problems. For me, I didn't really know Python or Java before going into the program. So I spent a lot of time learning. I think I was spending upwards to 60 to 80 hours per week at school learning. Sometimes it's not so much doing homework, it's just out of curiosity, the stuff that the commercial showed, and then you want to learn, explore a little bit more on your own. But there are, one of my friends that he was kind of familiar with Python already, so he didn't spend, nearly as much time doing homework and all that stuff. So it kind of depends on you, right?
Absolutely, I second that. I definitely would say that this is a full-time commitment. So you should not really have another job and try to do this. I mean, perhaps like a minimalistic part-time job could be managed, but if you can manage a more demanding job and this degree, you're definitely a better person than me.
So I saw on the slides that we could get EIT experience. Is that with the 2 team design projects?
You could get EIT experience. Not necessarily. I think the whole, I believe now maybe Dr. Papajoe or Dr. Krishnamurthy could comment on this, but I think if you get a master's degree, you get some credit just in general with APEGA. I think so. For the whole degree, you get some credit with APEGA. I believe it's half the time. Like if you do graduate studies, I got my PEng, and that's how it was at the time. I don't know what it is now, but so if I had done a 2-year master's, they gave me a year of PEng credit. So I imagine this would be the same.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm an international student who's studying in the US right now. Do I need to meet the ELP requirements? So if your prior degree, so one, it might be listed on the WHED website as being English instruction, in which case, you know, that's kind of the end of the discussion. In terms of what your the program and how far you're into it in the US right now, that would be kind of another thing for consideration. So I would encourage you to email meng@ucalgary.ca so we can have a look at what your situation is and best advise from there. Jamie?
Yeah, for sure. So typically, if you are, if you do have completed a degree in a U.S. State, then you would be exempt, but it would have to be completed. So we would have to look into it a little further for your case.
Regarding the employment, do you have any statistics on where graduates find employment? That kind of touches a little bit on what you talked about before.
Yes, so we comment that where graduates find employment. I think it's very, very diverse. Like as Oscar said, we do have people working for very software-oriented companies like AMD. I mentioned Payson. I mentioned Benevity. They're really all over the place. So I mean, like Oscar is working in a research organization. Other people are working in computer sector, oil and gas sector. So the thing about software engineers is that we have the tools, and then it's just a matter of the domain. So I mean, I worked in the energy sector for a number of years just because, you know, I live in Calgary and those opportunities were there. But you know, a lot of my colleagues went to Vancouver and, for example, worked in EA Sports and gaming. And so you can, when you write programs, it really doesn't matter. I talked to some MN students who were, for example, chemical engineering students, and they specifically wanted jobs that is in another sector just because they wanted to diversify. Or some people who, you know, get those degrees and then go back to their own domain expertise and work there. So it's very diverse.
Thank you. Where can we submit our application to this program? So where you submit your application is just on the UCalgary main homepage, that future students apply. There's a link at the top there. I'm not sure if I type the answer to all. Jamie, do you want to try and put the link in there, please, into that Q&A? That would be amazing. Hopefully that will share out to everybody there.
Give me 1 second.
All right, so while you do that, we're going to move on. A question for Oscar again. What was your software engineering project? And what company did you work on it with, and what was the topic?
Sure. I was working with a team at the University of Calgary at the Cummings School of Medicine on a health informatics project. It was very much in the healthcare domain. The technology from software that we implement over there, it has very much to do with recommendation engines, you know, things like association role mining. And on the implementation side, we with framework that you may or may not have heard of called React. It's a very popular front-end web framework, and our backend was all written in Python, implemented that way. I guess just to relate to what Dr. Moshapur said earlier, it very much depends on the domain you're working in. You can take some of the stuff that you learned here and apply to different domains and find ways to make use of them. And that's where a lot of opportunities are lying.
Thank you. Do you count the credits during my co-enrollment in another institution, a community college, if I was there only taking a history class? And do I need to send that transcript? Jamie?
Yeah, so even any courses that you just take one course at, you'll need to send to us. Anywhere where you take any post-secondary or any credits at all, we will need to see those courses.
So is Duolingo English test results acceptable for Canadian citizens? So I'm going to say the ELP is really kind of irregardless of whether you have citizenship or not. It's really about where your prior studies were and whether that institution was English in its instruction. In terms of the Duolingo test specifically, we are still waiting on confirmation. Yes, I was replaying that in my head from FGS. So that was a new addition just this spring with the pandemic, that that test was approved by the Faculty of Graduate Studies as an option to meet that ELP requirement. And so we're just waiting within the next couple of weeks here to get confirmation from FGS that we are able to accept that test result once again for this recruitment cycle. So should hear back very quickly on that international student page though. So future students, graduate, and then international students. Jamie, if you could plunk that link in there for us. Thank you so much. As soon as that is approved, that will refresh on that website and you'll see that there.
Sorry, Candice, to interrupt you. Can you just clarify the December 15th deadline? Just because I have a few students saying there's different deadlines on the webpage and then we said this deadline.
Okay, so December 15th is the deadline for the software program. For some of our other programs, they have April 15th as the deadline, but for the software program, whether you are applying to attend the boot camp or you think you are, able to not do that boot camp and can jump right into the fall start, whatever your situation, the MN software deadline is December 15th. And that means everything. So that means your ELP results, that means your unofficial transcripts, that means all those little information categories within the application. We need everything completed in full in advance of December 15th. Jamie, would you add to that?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. That is the end of the questions. Did we capture them all? Does anybody else have any other ones that we've missed or that have popped in your head since then? Maybe in the meantime, Oscar, if I could put you on the spot and ask, I guess what's I don't know, you came from oil and gas, you've obviously done a huge pivot. If you could just, if you had advice to all these individuals that are on the line right now, what might you share with them?
Sure. I don't know where everyone is dialing in from, but I worked in oil and gas for quite a number of years, I guess, for most part of since I graduated. I did my summer co-op in their internship, and then I worked full time for several years. I was a field engineer for the most part. I was always inclined to technical things, building things, right? The oil and gas is kind of a little harder to find employment right now. A lot of my friends ask me about, this kind of questions too. How do you actually end up just deciding to pick it up and change career one day? you know, like I kind of just followed what I wanted to do. I was more passionate about building stuff and understanding how technology actually work, more so than, you know, trying to manage people and relying on telling other people how to do their stuff for me. So this was kind of a no-brainer. And actually through the bootcamp program, you know, there's a lot of actually writing code, building stuff. You probably will discover it for yourself whether you love it or hate it, and it's a pretty, for me, it was one of the best choices I've ever made in career. So
Perfect, thank you. I appreciate that. We've gotten to the end of our questions. Faculty team, is there any closing comments that you'd like to leave us with this evening?
I think we covered everything. I'd like to thank everybody who joined us. I think this program is really a great fit for people who enjoy learning new things. So you're passionate about learning, because software engineering is all about continuing to learn new things. So I've been a software engineer for many years now, but without dating myself. but I consistently find myself learning new things. So for example, Oscar mentioned React, which is a JavaScript for making user interfaces and front-end computing. And this was something that wasn't around when I was graduating. So this is something that I had to learn just, you know, probably, you know, a year or two prior to when Oscar learned it. So we're continuously learning, and so you have to love to learn. And then the second thing is that you have to love technology. So if that's you, this is the right program for you.
Thank you. Dr. Tapaju, did you have a closing comment?
Yes, I also want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And based on the success rate of our graduates, I strongly encourage you to apply to this program. I can assure you that the software engineering area has a very, very bright future. So you are not going to regret enrolling into this program. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, just echoing, we're very grateful that you were all able to join us this evening. Really appreciate your time. We hope that we've answered all of your questions as you're kind of reflecting back on the presentation and the Q&A this afternoon or this evening. You know, if you have additional questions, email us anytime, meng@ucalgary.ca, meng@ucalgary.ca, and we'll do our very best to help you out and answer any questions that you have. Yeah, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate everything, and enjoy your evenings.